Hello, and welcome to the Postpartum Years podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ellen Kramp. I am a physical therapist and a pelvic health specialist. Joining me today is Gabriela O'Neill, and full disclosure, Gabriela is my niece, actually.
Yes.
But funny thing is, I come from a very large family. I am the eighth of 9 kids. Her mom is number 2 of that
Yep.
9. And essentially, we've been living about 1,500 miles apart her whole life. So I've actually only met Gabriela maybe a dozen times in her life, and it's usually with about 50 other people around.
Yes.
So even though she is my niece, we actually don't know each other very well at all.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm closer in age to your kids than I am to my own siblings.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I'm like just as close in age to your sister as I am my sister. So
Yep.
it's yeah, funny family. The families are funny.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I know you have one son.
I do.
Would you like to tell me about any difficulty you might have had getting pregnant, any difficulties with the pregnancy, that sort of thing? So let's start from there.
Yeah. Well, definitely didn't have any difficulty getting pregnant because I got pregnant like a week after meeting my now husband. So no difficulty there. My pregnancy was actually pretty smooth. The biggest thing I had was high blood pressure, but it wasn't even that bad. My least favorite part of my pregnancy, honestly, was having to hear the sonograms because I don't like the sound of a heartbeat. So I was like, oh, I'm so glad it's there. I don't want to hear it. Yeah. So it's very, very strange. But oh my God, I loved being pregnant. It was so much fun. And then my delivery was, I don't want to say atypical because I don't know everybody's experience, obviously. But I was induced about 7 days before my due date. And then I had my son the following day, but I pushed for 3 hours. I started at 6:30 p.m. and he was born at 9:28. So I pushed for 3 hours and I blacked out during most of it. I don't remember any of it.
Wow.
Yeah. My husband and my mom were in the delivery room with me. And they told me afterwards that I said so many things to them. I don't remember any of it. Apparently, my husband would say something to me. I wouldn't believe him. And I turned to my mom and I asked her the same thing. And just because I did not believe him. And I don't remember any of that. Apparently, the nurses told me to stop screaming. I don't remember that. I remember pushing for the first 20 minutes. And then I remember him coming out. Don't remember the 2 hours in between.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I'm still convinced that my mom is the reason I started pushing too early because I was always told that like when you need a push, it feels like you need to move your bowels, right? And so my mom had given me a smoothie earlier that day. And I was like, Mom, I have to go to the bathroom. I think it's because of the smoothie. And she's like, no, you have to push. You have to push. That was a lot while I was pushing. But the nurses were really good. They cleaned it all up. They made sure that like I was not aware of it. Obviously I was, but but yeah, no. So that's my funny birth story that I love to tell everyone because everybody gets a kick out of it. And then after he was born, it was pretty smooth. I was exhausted, obviously. And no, it's been going great. But since then, and I don't know if you want to get into this just yet or
go ahead.
So postpartum, I developed postpartum anxiety, postpartum OCD, and we're not sure if I had this before my pregnancy or if it happened after my pregnancy, but I ended up developing endometriosis.
Okay.
Which was very difficult, which led to a hysterectomy 3 years later. So,
okay.
Yeah, I had a very eventful life since my son's been born. And that doesn't include him.
So tell me about the symptoms you had with the postpartum anxiety and the postpartum OCD.
Yeah, so I ended up starting to go to therapy about a year after my son was born. And that was mainly because I was like just really sad all the time. And so they thought I had postpartum depression. And it turned out it wasn't that I was sad or wasn't depressed. It was just a lot of anxiety about just something happening to him. And like I didn't do well being away from him because I needed to keep him safe and near me. And I felt that I'm the only one that can keep him safe in my head. So it was a lot of that. And so I've been in therapy for, let's see, he's 8, almost 9. So 7, almost 8 years I've been in therapy. And one thing I learned, which I did not realize, is it kind of doesn't go away. Obviously, like some people, it gets much, much better, especially as the kids get older. But in my case, it just really, really took a long time for it to go away. One issue that I really struggled with, like I mentioned, not being able to be away from him. So he actually slept in bed with me from the age of 2 months to 7 years. And our bed is not big enough for all 3 of us. So it ended up for a good 4 or 5 years, I slept in his bed, or we moved a couch into his room and I slept on the couch in his room for 4 years, which definitely put a strain on my marriage, but we're fine now. But yeah, it was very difficult because I was so afraid that somebody was going to like break in, go in through a window and and kidnap him. And I had to be right there to protect him. And thank God for therapy. It took a while, but I finally kind of just worked my way through it. Still there. Don't get me wrong. It's still there constantly, but it's a lot less.
Good. I'm glad you're able to get at least partially through that.
As far as the postpartum OCD, that one has definitely gotten a lot better. It was at a point where, like, for example, I would give him a kiss after I put him in his car seat because I was always afraid I have to do this before I drive, because if we get into a car accident, if I never get to give him a kiss again, then I kind of work through that. And I was like, all right, well, I don't need to do that. He already knows that I love him and this and that. And so it wasn't like a compulsion that I had to do it anymore. Okay. So that has gotten better. One thing at a time.
Anything else related to the OCD portion?
That was really it. That was so minimal compared to my anxiety, my postpartum anxiety. I mean, I already had anxiety to begin with, and then just obviously having him made it worse. But the OCD was so minimal in respect to my son that's really it. Yeah.
Okay. So mostly the anxiety was the biggest component of that.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Did you have any physical issues from postpartum perspective?
Yeah, like I said, I ended up developing endometriosis, and we don't know if I developed it before, after, if it was related to the pregnancy. My doctor wanted me to get pregnant again to help it, but we couldn't afford another kid. So it's getting expensive. So I didn't get pregnant. And then 2 days before COVID hit, like the pandemic was declared, I had my hysterectomy. And that was huge because I was supposed to be on leave for 6 weeks and resting. And I ended up having to homeschool my son, which, I mean, he was daycare, so it wasn't like that crazy, and my stepdaughter. So while I was recovering, I was homeschooling them because my husband also worked nights, so he had to sleep during the day, and we lived in a studio apartment at the time. Yeah. And he didn't get furloughed or anything, so he had to keep going to work and all that fun stuff. So yeah, my recovery from my hysterectomy was huge. but I only had a partial hysterectomy. I only had my uterus taken out, and I still have my ovaries. So I still deal with endometriosis to this day, and it sucks. It really sucks.
They just did the hysterectomy. They didn't remove all the endometriosis that was there at the time, or did they?
So a lot of it was attached to my uterus, like to the outside of my uterus. And so the amount that was left behind was so minimal, they figured that it wasn't going to hurt. But like my doctor kind of explained to me that like the amount of pain isn't relative to the size of the endometriosis, right? So it could be like the smallest patch, but I'm still doubled over in pain several times. So it was a lot of like medicinal therapy as far as like they had me on birth control pills even after the surgery to try to mitigate the pain. I was doing injections at one point. Don't remember the name of it because it's just so many things at this point. They had me on an IUD pre-hysterectomy. They had the the one that goes like in your arm.
Norplant.
Yep. So I had that. I've had every single form of birth control to just help endometriosis, and none of it has worked. And so I'm hoping to still get my ovaries removed at some point. And I understand that that's like a whole, like, have to be on hormones and everything after that. But I personally feel like it's kind of worth it just to be in no pain. And just, I would assume that would hopefully help my endo after that. But yeah.
Yeah. Because there are endometriosis specialty surgeons that, go to try to find those really small areas to cut those puppies out.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there's somewhere. I can tell that there's somewhere in there. I don't know where, but there's somewhere.
Yeah, there are more and more endo specialists popping up. So there definitely is more help out there for endo other than getting the ovaries removed. But yeah. Oh, you shouldn't be suffering. I feel badly.
Well, I'm used to it at this point. So it's just kind of like everyday life for me.
Yeah. So. And everyday life for me is helping people with that. So it's hard. You're my niece and I can't even help you. Don't you want to move to DC? So other than those many things, have you had any other problems that have been sticking with you since the birth of Alex?
Yeah, I don't think so. I feel like that's enough. But
yeah, that's more than enough. That's definitely more than enough. But some people just have like a laundry list. Yours is short but intense.
Oh yeah, mine's short but intense. But yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it. I have endo. I have what else do I have? Postpartum anxiety, postpartum OCD's gotten better. Thank God for my therapist and my support system at home for all this, because I wouldn't be able to do it without them.
Cool. I know your mom loves her grandbabies.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's actually with her right now. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Is there anything that you would want to add to let people know about?
Yeah, so that was the other thing is like my doctor started, I don't want to say gaslighting because I feel like that's such a negative connotation on it, but that's pretty much what it was. Is I would say, hey, this is still happening. And she said, oh, no, that's not endo because you had a hysterectomy. So it's not endo. It's probably something else. Go look at other specialists, figure out what it is. And I keep telling her, I'm like, no, it happens every month, like clockwork. And it's still happening. And she's like, yeah, no, that's not endo. And so it's really difficult to get people to believe you sometimes. And it feels like I'm like doubting myself, which doesn't help my anxiety. But that's just my regular anxiety, not my postpartum anxiety.
So, I mean, the way that happens is if you have endometriosis in different spots, and you have your uterus removed, and those endometriosis, that tissue is in
Yep.
different locations. Say it's attached to your small intestine, or it's attached to a ligament in your back, or it's attached to your diaphragm. It can be attached absolutely anywhere in the body. And you still have your ovaries, you still have your hypothalamus, you still have your pituitary. So there's still this whole hormonal circuit that's happening.
Yep.
All the hormones that start your whole cycle and have everything going are still happening. You're still ovulating every single month.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get pregnant because there's no uterus for anything to attach to.
Yep.
But your hormones are still cycling. So the endometrial tissue, that endometriosis that's attached in various places throughout your body, is still there.
Yep.
So that is still responding to the changes in hormones that are present. And so, yes, you can still be having pain with your cycle that's still happening in the background, even though, the lining of your uterus is not growing and you're not shedding it every single month. The endometrial tissue that's everywhere else in the body is still responding to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
So around the time that you would have had your period, you're still going through the cycles, you're still having pain, and that makes sense. So, the doctor that's telling you, oh, you're not having pain from that, I wouldn't say she's gaslighting you. I would say she herself would be uninformed.
Yeah.
And that to me means that you do need to see one of those endometrial specialists, because I've seen patients who've gone through that same thing as well, where they've had a hysterectomy, but they had endometriosis. All of it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't removed. And, if they still have their ovaries, they're still cycling, they're still having pain. I'm glad you're only having pain, 1 week a month instead of 24/7, but you still shouldn't be having pain 1 week a month if, you get the endo cut out.
And when I had my hysterectomy, my doctor even said, she's like, I didn't see any endometrial tissue in that area, so you don't have endometriosis anymore. But now I'm like, when you talking to you, I'm like, okay, well, it could have gone somewhere else,
Yes, absolutely.
And they
It
didn't do
doesn't
a
have to
full body
be.
scan of it.
No.
So
There is an endometrial summit that happens in Orlando, and it's also virtual every single year. So people out there might be interested in looking into that. I think it's called the Endo Summit. You can find that online. I can put the info on that in the info for the show as well, so people can. I'll try to find the link to click to that. So, and be aware of.
I think the biggest thing that I've always been really vocal about is endometriosis, because I feel like it isn't a well-known thing, and there really is no cure for it. And so I always just like to make sure people are aware that this is a thing, and because it is so incredibly painful, and before my hysterectomy, it was 20 times worse. So I know how bad it can be. And so I just love that I get to come on here and kind of make sure people know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think it's improving, but the average time to diagnosis was 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's crazy.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I think I had my son. About 4 months later, I started having the pain. And then I didn't have my hysterectomy until he was almost 3. So it was 3 years of trying to figure out what this, or I'll say 2 years of diagnosis and trying to figure out what this was. And then another year of various treatments before I could convince my doctor to have a hysterectomy. So yeah, it was a very long process, especially because they didn't know that it was endometriosis at first. My GP did not even know what endometriosis was. She had to look it up. She was like, "Oh, what's that? Let me look it up," because I did research on my own and had to figure out what my symptoms were, what it could possibly be, and then bring it to her and be like, all right, well, could it be one of these things? She had to look it up, kind of what it was. And from there, she was like, oh, okay, well, let's try XYZ and then go to your OBGYN and see if it's this. So, yeah, it was a long, long process. But like in retrospect, it actually wasn't that long, but in the
And when you're
moment,
going through it, that's forever.
yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because a lot of endo patients, they have like 1 week in the middle of their cycles that is good.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the week leading up, the week of, and the week after all suck.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I still have my ovaries, I still have a cycle, and so while I don't bleed, which is, oh my god, thank God, I didn't want to deal with that anymore. But I don't bleed anymore, obviously, but I still have a cycle,
The
and
hormones,
so I still
yeah.
know when, like, it's so funny because I'll go to the doctor and they'll forget that I had a hysterectomy. They're like, "Oh, when was your last period?" I was like, "Well, the last time I bled was about 5 years ago." But if we're talking cycle, but yeah, I always know when my cycle's gonna hit because one, my face breaks out in acne, and then during it, I know, like, I'm in so much pain, and then I ease up for a couple of weeks, and then it just starts all over again. So I always know when I'm in my cycle still.
That's rough. That's rough.
Yeah, yeah. But at least it's only like a week of pain now, as opposed to 24/7, 365
Yeah.
before my hysterectomy.
Yeah. And endo's a crazy thing. I was at a conference at the NIH several years ago, and it was on lymphedema. It was on the lymphatic system, and they were discussing how they thought that in some cases the lymphatic system was transporting the endometrial cells to different parts of the
Yeah.
body. And this one doc was talking about a patient that he had that she would get nosebleeds during her period because she actually had endometriosis
Really?
in her sinuses. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, for a while, I actually thought that my endo had traveled to my spine. I mean, I guess it's still a possibility, but I have arthritis. And so for a while, I thought it was just my endo, like, attached to the lower part of my spine because, oh my God, when my endo flares up, it's just like my tailbone to the middle of my back is all, I mean, it could be just my cycle making my arthritis worse or what, but yeah, it's just been a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, the prostaglandins, when a period is starting, will kind of inflame everything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, also the endometriosis, depending on where that has attached, because it can attach to different ligaments and stuff, and make a lot of back pain for a lot of people as well.
Oh yeah. That I definitely know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then, I also had a epidural during my pregnancy, and I know that, like, you can have lasting back pain from that. So I was like, I don't know if it's just from that. There's so many different things that it could be.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a lot, Gabriela.
oh yeah. But I like to share my story because, one, it gives people a good laugh, because some of it is kind of funny. But it also it does raise awareness of these are things that happen, even postpartum anxiety. I didn't know that was a thing until my therapist told me. I thought it was just postpartum depression.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the only thing. But then I had postpartum anxiety and postpartum OCD, and people don't know about these things. And for me, I was terrified because I thought something was wrong with me, even more so than I already had. So yeah, I love being able to come on to podcasts like this and just talk about my experience to help other people.
Well, I am very thankful for you sharing your story. I think that will be really tremendously helpful for a lot of people
Yeah.
because,
Awesome.
people have heard about postpartum depression. They've heard about postpartum psychosis. I don't think a lot have heard about postpartum anxiety or postpartum OCD very much.
Yeah.
So you sharing that part is amazing. The endo, I think most women need to hear about just
Yes.
because it affects a pretty significant portion of the population, and there is help for that as well.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, yeah, ends up being managed and not cured quite often, but in some docs out there are true specialists at it, and others aren't quite as
Yeah.
much. So
Yeah.
so
I just
hopefully,
find the right people.
hopefully, and I'll see what I can do on my end to find you a specialist that
I appreciate
would
that.
maybe work with your insurance.
Yeah. Right.
Because
That's
I
a
know
big thing.
there are some docs out there who they're specialists, but they're cash only, which
Yeah.
that
Oh yeah.
is out of the ballpark for a lot of people. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll see what I can do to find somebody. There should be somebody at least in the Boston area that
Yeah.
would be able to help you with that. You shouldn't
Well,
still
I
be
appreciate
suffering.
that.
All righty. So thank you very much for joining us on the Postpartum Years podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks.